Johanna was a year mate when I got into Parliament. And we got in there, we were young. I mean, it's been about 20 something years since then. And as he kept on running his politics and I would watch him, I would frequently have a sit down with him and discuss. And I realized the issues were very simple, that the area that he comes from has chunks of land which we, the ruling class, frequently over the years, and that has been the dispute, by the way. The land is highly expensive. It has rare minerals. It has it has a lot of stuff that if Kenya sold, we would actually even pay all our debts. And that is what has been happening. And you've seen individuals who are in government organizing and basically going to take over that land, chasing away the people. On that land, there are some people who are actually squatters who've lived there for 35, 40 years. And those are, and many people believe that this accident was actually. I will say here that I've received a phone call from somebody who's told me he has corresponded. So the matter has to be discussed. We have lost people. We have been told why they died. We have never. It has been going on, and some of us are saying no. That we left years ago. That people are being killed, whether they have disagreed with the government or not. That should never happen in this republic. And Kenya is a country that has come so much. My honest observation is that I think me, myself, have had a lot of inward looking at as to where we are, how we are doing it, why are we doing it the way we do. And I feel we are heading the wrong direction. And that brings me back to the question you asked about Kisii. We are going to hold a rally. We have absolutely nothing. We have absolutely nothing. We don't even plan anything. We don't say, oh, we are going to have enemies and everything. Sooner or later, we are told there are gangs in Kisii town with pangas and machetes, and they are saying we cannot go to Kisii town to hold a rally there. And of course, from morning until 3 o'clock, they were beating people senseless. They were closing shops. They were breaking things and telling everyone to get out of town. And lo and behold, we made some contacts with our people. Of course, we also know people. And the youths just walked into Kisii town and overpowered those fellas. And they walked us into the center of town and walked us into Kisii Stadium. It was one of my most emotional political rally I've ever held. I actually saw people's power. These people we were with in that stadium did not harm anybody, did not destroy anything. Of course, they broke the gate to the stadium. The governor said we couldn't get in. And as a result, it made us begin to think that now goonism or violence is being rationalized by the state so that come the next elections, the voter will be fearing to vote in certain areas. There will be so much violence that people will say there's no need for me to participate in these elections as violent in the number all that. That I was also in Kakamega with Sifuna. The public has finally read it. What I would play and pray to the government is Kenyans have changed. The government has to change its tactics, has to change its style, has to change the way it handles Kenyans. Kenyans have started realizing that we are actually messing our country. There's so much out here. I mean, count for the last 6 weeks. How many scandals have been coming out? I mean, how do we lose 1.2 trillion shillings? And that's normal. I mean, that is okay. Nobody really thinks that's much. And yet we are borrowing money to come and do roads which don't exist, to do water which doesn't exist, build hospitals and put medicines which are not there. And the public out here, many young people have no jobs, have nothing, they have no hope. Those of us who are advantaged, and I keep saying this, I don't know if anybody listens to me. Those of us who are advantaged must never forget that the people out here need certain safety networks which will give them a bearable living for them to continue with their lives and for them to change that life and participate effectively economically in a country like Kenya. But if we think that we, the ruling class, are going to in primitive accumulate as many billions and trillions as we want, and you don't care whether the people out here are seeing, these people, because of social media, they have so much information. I wish the ruling class would be listening. Finally, I wanted to make my point about what is happening between Iran. Trump has basically made all thought that our standards of governance and everything we did was so mediocre and was so useless that in fact we were a basket case. Trump has basically taken America to a standard where he doesn't honor court orders, he doesn't listen to judges, he doesn't do whatever. People are arrested the same way we arrested the guy running for president in Uganda, and you take him there and you do whatever you want. That's what Trump is doing. Now, does that mean that we have to follow what he does? My honest feeling is that many of you, like people in this space, and many of the leaders we have now, need to start re-engaging. What is our hope for Africa? Because if you look at the geopolitical wars and the geopolitical issues, you go to Ukraine, Russia, come to the Middle East, what is going on right now? Wars have been in Africa for the last 60 years, and nobody was interested. And yet Africa has been moving, and I see some hope. I see young leaders coming up who want to change the status quo. And my prayers are that many of you will be fighting so that we change Kenya, and people who are going to be in leadership, like the alternative government that I belong to. We are not asking for business as usual. I am not going to participate to change government because I want to go and take land, 8,000 acres, 5,000, steal public money and stuff like that. I think Kenya deserves better. The public expects better. And this country has good people who can change it without shedding blood or having war or having a revolution.
Serious stuff that you've spoken of. Of course, we wanted these members of parliament to be here so that we can commiserate together and hold maybe a moment of silence for in honor of those who perished yesterday, that devastating fatal crash that we saw it. Looking at the fuselage, it was unbelievable. You know, it just reminded me of what really happened in Gong with Professor George Saitoti and then also the Assistant Minister of Interior, Oro Jode, who also perished in that fatal crash. And all the while was alluded to bad weather. So it is critical that they have discernment as far as taking off and lifting off from, the airports with this weather. It can be erratic. You cannot really judge. Things just change along the way.